Hi, guys. What's up? Let's talk a little North Carolina and Oklahoma, the Jumpman Classic in Charlotte, North Carolina. Obviously, paying homage to Michael Jordan. And I think this is an ideal spot to smash MJ's alma mater, UNC, who's coming off back to back losses. And at the same time, we could fade an Oklahoma team that's still unbeaten. Oklahoma, yes, one of only four teams left that have across all of college basketball that has yet to take a loss. That's surprising to some. It's even a little surprising to me, quite frankly. But let's take note, guys. The Sooners have only been a dog in one game all year, and that was to a USC team that pretty clearly came into the season overrated. So maybe we shouldn't be too shocked that Oklahoma remains undefeated. Here, they're running into a North Carolina team that is top 10 in offensive efficiency. The Tar Heels have definitely taken on some high-profile competition of late. Problem is, they lost to both UConn, 87-76 as a 6-point dog, and Kentucky, 87-83 in a game that closed pick'em. No shame there for the Tar Heels. Those are two top 10 opponents. The games were played at neutral sites like this one, although I don't think there's any doubt with the game being in Charlotte, who's going to have the crowd edge. Charlotte, obviously, much closer to Chapel Hill than it is Norman, Oklahoma. And I think Hubert Davis is going to have his team looking to bounce back here tonight. The Sooners, okay, they have some nice neutral court victories over the likes of USC, Iowa, and Arkansas, but Carolina clearly the toughest test to date. Interestingly enough, OU has yet to play a true road game this season, so yet another reason maybe we should not be shocked that they are undefeated. Again, this is not technically a true road game, but being in Charlotte, let's be honest, it might as well be one. The Sooners, they just destroyed Green Bay over the weekend, 81-47 as 25-point favorites, but I don't think they're going to shoot 52% again from the field tonight. Yes, OU has shot well all season, 51%, but that number's due to come down. You just simply can't shoot 51% over the course of a full college basketball season. And another thing I think Porter Moser's team can't count on is opponents continuing to shoot just 25.6% from three. So there's definitely some negative shooting regression signs in the profile for Oklahoma, a team that, again, I think is due to take its first loss here defensively. You might think OU has the edge, but again, I just don't think they can count on the opponents shooting so poorly from three. UNC is a decent three-point shooting team at 35.6%. Don't think we see the Tar Heels dominate on the boards here, guys, like we saw against Kentucky. I will call for Oklahoma's first straight-up loss of the season here. Look at North Carolina for today's big game breakdown.
I've got a 4% best bet in the Duke Baylor game. I also have a 5% college basketball max bet that's up on my page at wagertalk.com. You see it right there on the screen, wt.buzz/AT. But a 4% play that I'm going to give out for free today, that I'm going to be at, that I'm already dressed accordingly for, is the Duke Baylor game at Madison Square Garden. I bet a lot of the games I go to because I pick the games I go to, oftentimes based on what I'm going to bet. This one I've had planned for a while, big game down in New York City. But after the weekend, I cannot help but jump in with Baylor here. The way that this all worked out. So Baylor 9-0 going into the weekend, they get throttled by Michigan State, another neutral court game where they really didn't get off the bus. They were down early, down huge, and it was their first loss of the season. But let's tip the cap a little bit to Michigan State. They shot 66.7%. They were a team that, in my opinion, was due a bunch of positive regression. And they seemed to get it all at once, all in that Baylor game, and just kind of went up huge and never looked back. So I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna dock Baylor as many points as I maybe normally would for a loss like that because of the spot it happened in, the fact that it was in a neutral up in Detroit, and Michigan State just sort of had their day. It's very reminiscent of a game Baylor played last year, early in the season, where they got destroyed by Marquette in almost the same fashion, like quickly down 30, never in the game, a total just awful performance. And they quickly bounced back from that last year with a nice win. I believe it was over Gonzaga. So there's precedence for these types of things early in the season. The early season ugly loss, first loss of the year, and then bouncing back. And that's what I think could happen with Baylor here. Duke, the money here and the line move is not at all surprising to me. This is Duke at Madison Square Garden. this is a team that the betting public wants to get in with. And when the betting public saw this open at -1.5, it is totally unsurprising that they jumped all over it and moved this with maybe some sharp money as well. But this moved quite a bit, all the way up to 3. And these early season, like, made for TV one-off neutral court games, I tend to not get involved with, but I will when I feel like I'm getting extra points for no reason other than the market deciding that Duke is the side here. And so for that reason, I jumped in with Baylor at +2.5, thinking that might be the peak of the number. And here we are sitting +3, which I still think is a fantastic bet. This Baylor team can score 88.4 points per game. That's eighth nationally. 51.7 percent shooting from the field. That's seventh nationally. Jacoby Walter is their leading scorer, and he's improved their defense because last year Keontae George played no defense. Walter, the freshman, has come in and been an excellent defender along with being a good scorer. It's something that Baylor is currently improving on, and I think will continue improving on this year because they were dead last in the Big 12 last year in defensive efficiency. And that's not, you go back to the championship team that Baylor had a couple years ago. Scott Drew had a top 25 defensive team. There's no doubt in my mind he already has Baylor playing better defense and will continue to have them playing better defense this year. Listen, there's a lot to like about Duke. I don't have a ton of negatives to say about a Duke team that's a top 25 team and is one of the better teams in college basketball, just like Baylor is. But I will point out their struggles on the road and or just away from Cameron Indoor under Shire. Last year it was a huge issue for them. Team really, really struggled pretty much anywhere outside of Cameron Indoor in the early portion of the season. And this year we already see Duke 0-2 on the road. And they did win a neutral against Michigan State, but still 6-1 at Cameron Indoor, 0-2 on the road, and we're getting them off of their home court here. So when I break that all down, it's a game that I think is going to be a great game between two legitimate top 20 basketball teams. But I think we have some nice value with Baylor here. I make this more of a pick. So at 2.5 or 3, that's across a couple key numbers in college basketball. I think Baylor on the neutral court in New York City tonight is a great bet. I like them to bounce back from the Michigan State debacle, and I made it a 4% play. So Baylor +2.5, 4% play for me at Madison Square Garden tonight.
Okay, guys, before we get to today's best bet, which is on Sam Houston against Grand Canyon, not the most marquee matchup on the Wednesday slate, but one that I think you'll need to pay attention to. Another game you need to pay attention to is what I'll have at WagerTalk.com here on Wednesday, a 5% play. Yes, I will be releasing just my second 5% play of the college hoop season. The first one saw Washington upset Gonzaga. Nice outright winner. We'll look to do it again here Wednesday night. WagerTalk.com, WT.buzz/BP. Already up over 45 units in December. Number one in win percentage and ROI. So let's get to Sam Houston and Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon, they've been on quite the run of late. They're 9-1 this season, have upsets wins over San Diego State and Liberty. This past weekend, the Lopes smashed Portland 91-63 as 11-point chalk, and that game was played here in Phoenix, not on campus, but at the Footprint Center as part of the Jerry Colangelo Classic. But now I think the market has gotten a little too high on the Lopes, who are double-digit favorites here over a Sam Houston squad that I feel is better than its 6-6 record. Part of the reason we're getting such a good number on the Bearcats tonight. That's Bearcats with a K. Oh, by the way, Sam Houston. They're 0-3 ATS their last 3 games, but 2 of those losses, they were favored, and the other just a single-digit loss. I know that Sam Houston did not look great its last time out, losing to Texas State as 4.5-point favorites, 73-60. But things got off to a good start. The Bearcats were leading by 10 at the half, but then the wheels just came off in the second half. Sam Houston gets absolutely blitzed, outscored 50-27 over those final 20 minutes. That was a real shocker to me. Texas State ended up shooting the lights out for the game, 53.9%, and had more than double the number of free throw attempts despite being the road team. Didn't help Sam Houston's cause. They were just 4 of 19 from three-point range in that one. But I think this is the peak of the market on Grand Canyon and likely the bottom of the market on Sam Houston. Consider this. Sam Houston has still only lost 1 game by more than 15 points, and that was at Arizona State by 17. So they don't get blown out often. Again, this is double digits. The Bearcats played Ole Miss a team that's still undefeated, tough at a neutral setting, lost by just 3 there. Shooting, not been all that great recently for the road team. I understand that. 3 straight games below 39% field goal percentage, but I smell a bounce back here as Grand Canyon hasn't been all that great at defending the 3. Also, since starting the season with blowout wins over Southeast Missouri State and Northern Arizona, 2 lousy teams, Grand Canyon has just 1 win by more than 15 points, and that was last time out against the aforementioned really bad Portland team. I will be looking to take the points here with Sam Houston for Wednesday's best bet. And don't forget my 5% play available at wagertalk.com, wt.buzz/BP. Number 1 win percentage, number 1 ROI in December.